And let's talk about Larson here, because this is what's going to lead us into our final points of this talking point, right, Tom? Where was Larson, like, at the end of this race with, like, 30, 40 to go after the Trex caution? He was one of the guys that pitted. He was buried in, what, like, 22nd, 24th, something like that? Way back there. Way back in the field. Like, his race was over. And then he ends up putting a masterclass together driving to the field. He passed everybody. I mean, it was crazy. He gets up to P3 behind Blaney with probably 8, 9 to go.
This is Jay from the Dega Boys, reminding you to like this video if you're enjoying it so far. Make sure to hit the subscribe button to see more great content like this. Don't forget to hit the bell icon to stay notified of all future uploads on this channel. Thanks for watching. Now back to the video.
And it looks like the race is over, man. It looks like, is Brad going to run out? I mean, what were you thinking, Tom? Did you think Brad was going to make it legitimately to the end? I mean, I was in shock what he was doing.
No. I didn't. I was hopeful, but I mean, deep down inside, no. There's no way.
I don't know, man. I was like, when it got closer and closer to the end, when they got like the 4 to go and he was still running, I was like, holy crap, dude. Brad Keselowski is going to steal another win. Holy cow, he's going to do it. Off of just complete sheer strategy, determination, and luck, he's going to find a way to win this race. And then we have a caution with 3 to go. Changed the whole complexion of the race. Oh, KFB. Oh, KFB. What's wrong with KFB, man? How many times is he going to wreck this year, dude? KFB is having a terrible year. Is he going to go winless? I think so. I'm convinced.
Yeah.
It's over.
I'm convinced too.
Oh my goodness. At this point, if I was that team, I would just build the most cheating up freaking car I could to take to Daytona. I swear to God, dude. Like, where else is he going to win? Nowhere. It's over for him, man. It sucks. But this is where the controversy begins, because we're going to get a restart, green, white, checkered. And right before we get the green, Brad Keselowski pulls off of pit road, and Kyle Larson inherits the bottom of the front row. We get the restart. Now we should talk about that, Tom. Because before we got into this podcast tonight, you brought up a great point. I think you should bring that back up on this podcast about Kyle Larson, who gets to control the race on that restart, what has been protocol, consistency, and so on.
Well, I mean, I'm a little confused myself, to be honest with you. Because what's the rule? What's the leader fires first, right? I mean, that's the rule. So who is the leader? Because Keselowski pulled off and went down pit road. The whole inside lane shifts forward. Or does it? Or should it? Is Blaney the leader now? Or is Larson the leader now? All right. I don't think a lot of that matters now, since we saw the restart. To me, both the drivers jumped at the same time, and that's fine. But moving forward, wouldn't it be more of a wouldn't it be more governable if you say, like, the leader needs to cross the start-finish line first? If that doesn't happen, then that's the penalty. It's a little more consistent, in my opinion, instead of just visually looking at it, because people can have opinions about that. You really can't have an opinion if the fact is right in front of your face stating that this driver crossed the start-finish line first or not, right? But it also brings up a point of, well, didn't we used to have that? When the leader had to cross the start-finish line first?
Yeah, pre-restart zone, that was the rule. Yes.
Because I kind of remember it being in, like, Gen 6 times. Gen 5 times. Maybe not. I could be wrong. I don't know.
I don't remember Gen 6, but I do remember Gen 5.
Because I remember it for some reason. I really do, and I just can't pinpoint. But you know, you can make everything so subjective to these restarts here. at first I was like, yeah, Larson definitely jumped that restart. And then I went back and looked at it, and I was like, yeah, they kind of fired it at the same time. And then they posted SMT data. And what the SMT data said was that Blaney was in second gear, Larson was in first gear, and that they launched at the same exact time. And it showed, not at the same exact, I mean, Larson did jump just like, I mean, like, we're talking like milliseconds, right? Just a little bit sooner, but in reality, it didn't matter. But what's the rule?
The leader must be the first one to go inside the restart zone. No matter what part of the restart zone it is, has to be the first one. Yeah, they've got the data, exactly.
They've got it. So, I find myself looking at this kind of stuff and thinking about it all the time. I think to myself, the inconsistencies are still not there, even after all the controversies this year, especially the crown jewels. What did we see at the Daytona 500?
Yep.
What did we see now at the Brickyard 400?
That 600 got rained out too.
What did we see at the 600? You know what I mean? Like, there's just no freaking consistency. And honestly, a lot of this I feel like is on NASCAR. They build these rule packages that make it so subjective where, you know what, NASCAR can make the call. Well, then you get yourself put in situations where the fans start questioning everything, and then they get labeled as conspiracy theorists, and then they get outcasts, but NASCAR does it to themselves. I mean, is it hard to ask for consistency? Or, I don't know. I just, there's so many things here. Jay, I kind of like to bring up the blend line as well, coming off of pit road, where Chase Elliott didn't get a penalty, or did get a penalty. Brad Keselowski didn't. Kyle Larson didn't.
No, Brad did. Brad and Elliott got one.
Oh, Brad did?
And then Larson did not.
Okay, well, that makes it worse. That makes it even worse. Because Larson and Keselowski took the same exact line. Elliott took a little bit of a higher line, which, yes, he should have been penalized, and he was penalized. Keselowski was penalized, but Larson wasn't. There's SMT data showing that too. I mean, it's posted all over X. You can see it. And so, maybe I'll do some of my own due diligence and post it to the Discord after the podcast so everybody can see what I saw. But again, just to point at the inconsistencies of NASCAR, this is what we're dealing with. I think we're just dealing with a sanctioning body that, first off, doesn't care. Second off, I think whether you'd like to admit it or not, they can pick and choose winners.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you bring up
not saying that. Also, not saying that Kyle Larson didn't deserve that win, because he was extremely fast. Blaney was extremely fast. But clean air is king as well. You know what I mean? Especially with these cars. So I'm not discrediting any of that. I'm just saying the inconsistencies that is just so apparent.
You bring up great points. My first thought here, though, is the penalties of the blend line with the Larson one that's circulating all over the interwebs. It's kind of kicking off this conspiracy theory was that, and then the restart, obviously. But the way I understood the rule, Tom, with the blend line was it had to be your tire was past the blend line. In the picture that I saw, which granted, it's 1940s roll-up camera technology NASCAR uses that shows these images, right? It looked like only his fender was over that blend line compared to Keselowski and Elliott where their tire went over the blend line. And that's my thought on that. But other than that, that doesn't really matter. That's subjective or whatever, objective, whatever, however you want to look at it, depending on what camp or fan base you're in, right? You're going to come up with that assumption. What really gets me, though, is we've seen this in other races benefiting certain drivers for years. Like, we've seen, there's so many times where your favorite driver was in the middle of a pit sequence, like let's say a Chase Elliott or a Joey Logano, a Denny Hamlin, whatever, the fan favorites, were in the middle of a pit sequence, and they let it stay green long enough for them to finish the cycle and cycle back to lead lap. And then we've seen situations where, let's say, for example, let's just throw a driver's name up: Justin Haley, Todd Gilliland, Carson Hocevar. Same scenario. They throw the caution immediately to trap them a lap down, not let the sequence finish out. We've seen this happen to favor certain drivers from the history of NASCAR. This has always happened. So the fact that people are getting on saying, oh, there's some good benefit of the doubt, well, it's happened to your favorite driver too at some point. And I'm sure you're one of the your favorite driver is one of the big 8, you know. So you've got no room to talk about this Larson incident to begin with, because if it was your driver in that situation, you would be saying the same thing Larson fans are saying right now. So I think that's just, it is what it is. And then to the consistency thing that you're talking about, Tom, I 100% agree. But what I've learned this year is that consistency in NASCAR is gone. It's dead. And for me to believe that we could ever see consistency or get mad that we don't see consistency anymore, I'm just burning and wasting energy on something that just is unnecessary at this point. It's never going to change. They threw consistency out the window. I really think it was the spawn of the Gen 7 era. I think it really was. Maybe the restart zone thing. Because I know you remember this, Tom, but you remember back in the day, let's say the pole sitter had an infraction before the race, or in post-race or whatever, and post-qualifying, and the pole sitter had to go to the back of the field. What was the procedure to decide the front row? The row, whatever row he was in, moved up. And so your new pole sitter was your P3 guy, right? That was the way it was for years. For years, that was the procedure. On restarts, it was the same thing. If a leader got a penalty, boom, he went to the tail end along slide, the row moved up. It's always been like that. I think the problem is everybody's mad because Blaney didn't get the opportunity to pick the lane he wanted on that restart. But it's always been that way. And I think the reason that it becomes such a big issue is because of this choose cone. The choose cone, he made his bed and he had to lay in it. He picked the outside line. Regardless of whether Keselowski is going to make it to the end on fuel or not, he chose the outside line. He could have chose the inside line. There's nothing that told him he couldn't choose it. He chose the outside line, and unfortunately, Larson moved up. And I don't think that restart was jumped at all. I mean, the SMT data, right, like you said, we're splitting hairs, right? He might have went just that much sooner. Who knows, right? Well, we do know. He did go that much sooner. But in live action, live TV, Blaney's the control car in that scenario because he becomes P1. But if you go by the rules that have been established for the last 25 years of NASCAR, Larson would have been the control of that restart because he is now your new leader. So we're splitting hairs on a rule that NASCAR backed themselves into. NASCAR created this choose cone thing, created this because the fans wanted it. And now NASCAR tries to do their best to work through the scenarios they have to create to please the fans, and then the fans whine about it. Doesn't this sound like a broken record? This sounds like everything that's ever happened in NASCAR. The same old crap. The fans are always going to find something to bitch and moan about and whine about because they want something, and then when they get it, they get butthurt because they have it. That's how I feel about this whole scenario, Tom.
You know the solution to that? You watch the Xfinity series.
Yes. Facts.
Just
Facts.
saying.
Xfinity series is the best series. I'm gonna die on that hill. I will.
Yep.
It is. And if you're not watching the Xfinity series, well, I don't know what to tell you. I don't know what to tell you. You can keep bitching about the Cup series. I don't care. Keep doing it because the Xfinity series is absolutely mint. There hasn't been an Xfinity series race this year that wasn't must-watch TV. And I think the CW, They see this. These aren't stupid people running these networks. They saw this. They know what's going on with the Xfinity Series. And they're like, you know what? The way the Cup Series is going, we don't want that. We want the Xfinity package. That's what we want. We want to put that on primetime Saturday TV right there. Boom.
Cheaper and better racing.
Better racing. Exactly. And you know how many people are going to be tuning into the CW? Everybody, the freaking antenna stick's got the CW. You know how many people are going to be watching? People are going to be watching that and thinking it's the Cup Series. And then people are like, oh, well, NASCAR's not going to have a product if they don't come up with a charter agreement. Blah, 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 blah. Well, guess what? What's going to happen? They're going to move the Xfinity Series to be the Cup Series. And that's what they're going to do. That'll be the workaround. And guess what? It's going to be better. It's going to be better. And it's going to be freaking awesome. And we don't need the Cup Series. We don't need those freaking broke owners.
Yeah. Exactly.
Oh, man. All right. Yeah. So Larson ends up winning the race. I guess the last bit of consistency, controversy, the Ryan Preece spin, final lap, no caution. Then they threw the caution after the light. I think this is the way it should be done every time, in my opinion. And the reason I say that is because they throw a caution there. How many more overtime restarts do we get? Like 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 10, you know? And then NASCAR fans will bitch about that. They're going to bitch when we get a race that ends under yellow and we don't have to let it run 15 hours longer with a Mickey Mouse winner. But yet they're going to also bitch because we end under yellow. There's no winning. There's no winning with NASCAR fans. There is none. I think that NASCAR tried to give him ample amount of time to restart the car. And they did. But then again, it goes back to consistency. We throw a caution because somebody touches the wall, just kisses the wall a little bit in the middle of the pit sequence. But at the end of a race, we don't throw a caution when someone's trying to recycle the engine to get it to go on the inside. I mean, I don't know, Tom. I don't know. I just feel like the things that we've been saying for months and whatever, now people are clinging on to that and claiming it as their own ideas when we've been saying this forever. But whatever. We're just the Dega Boys. We're just a bunch of idiots on the internet.
Dale, yeah.
And I like it that way.